feeling the grace of knowing there is only God, and we say yes to life, and we say yes to love, knowing that heaven is within us right here and now, and we say yes to life, and we say yes to love. In this sacred sanctuary, we are one. Welcome home. Can you feel the joy? Welcome home. Can you feel the peace? Welcome home. Can you feel the love? In this sacred sanctuary, we are one. In this blessed sanctuary, we are one. In this loving sanctuary, we are one. Welcome home.
Welcome home. We are here at the Sanctuary for Spiritual Living, and we are celebrating Sunday. We are celebrating life. We are celebrating what it means to be here now in this magnificent, loving environment. And so I want to welcome each of you to the Sanctuary for Spiritual Living. And we are here in Covina, California. I want to thank Mary Ekler. She recorded music so that we would have her voice throughout our service today. And we will see her again in the near future, but today was an anomaly. We had a little stuff going on. So I'm saying thank you, welcome, glad to have you all. I want to remind you that here at the Sanctuary for Spiritual Living, we have a vision statement. That vision statement is on our program every week, and if you have looked at the program online, then you have it. It also is coming up, I'm sure, on the Facebook feed, because Peggy Hoover is doing our work for us, and so I'm sure she's typing that in for you. You can say it along with me. We are a vibrant, loving community and an inspirational resource for spiritual awakening and personal growth, and that is what we are. And so we are here proving that this day, this time, right now. I want to remind you that prayer requests our prayer is an essential part of our belief system, because we know that prayer does not change the mind of God, but it changes our mind to help align us with the divine qualities of God so we experience them in our lives. And so if you have a prayer request, not necessarily about something terrible happening, although it can be about something, a condition that you want to see changed because of how it is operating in your life right now. But it can also be about the growth in principles and ideas and things that you want to know and be more fully. And so if you have a prayer request of any kind, easy for me to say, at any time of any kind. How's that? If you have a prayer request, you can simply put it in on our website, www.somchurch.org, and that prayer request link that's on the top comes directly to me and then out to our ministers and practitioners. So you immediately have 30 people that are praying for you. I also want to let you know that we are here because we believe that there is only one life. That is the life of God. That life is perfect. That life is expressed through each of us right now. It is our lives, individualized. And so we know the soul is one, and that we are here doing soul connection in this time where we are physically distant from each other. I want to remind you that we also have uplifting services on Wednesday by Reverend Greg and on Friday by Reverend Carol. And they are at 7 o'clock, both nights on the same Facebook page. And so you can stay connected and uplifted all through the week. and I'm grateful for that. I want to thank today Peggy Huber, Tom Hancock, and Dylan Cumpston, who are up doing the video, Peggy on Facebook at home, and really delighted that we have people that are so dedicated and love us so deeply that they are willing to be here. I also want to say thank you, Mary Ekler, for all the music and the work that she has done today. And thank you to our practitioner, Eisele. I'm really delighted that we get to have her back today in the sanctuary, looking so forward to those words of inspiration. And so it's time for us to have our opening chant. And I invite you to join us at home. Mary will be singing and directing us.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. And may we be happy. The world is filled with loving kindness. The world is well. The world is peaceful and at ease. All the world is happy. I am filled with loving kindness. I am well. I am peaceful and at ease. Yes, I am happy.
Good morning, and thank you, Mary. That was beautiful. My name is Eisele. I'm practitioner for the day, and I also would just really like to take a moment to give a special thanks to our loving, dedicated souls that make this amazing sanctuary possible. The sound and video team, Jim Montgomery for coming early and getting everything set up, Terry Thayer for everything she does, all the activities. Once again, to the lovely Mary Ekler, who shares her amazing, talented gifts with us, and to our inspiring ministers, Dr. Reverend Carol Bliss, Reverend Greg Dorse, and especially Dr. Reverend Chris Collins for her wisdom and inspiration. Since we are not in church, and a lot of us don't have access to the copy of today's affirmation, I thought I'd read it slowly for everybody for your enjoyment. So, with that, within me is that which is perfect, that which is complete, that which is divine, that which was never born and cannot die, that which lives, which is God, the eternal reality. Within me is peace, poise, power, wholeness, and happiness. I know who I am. Wow. Thank you, Terry. My inspiration, or my invocation today, was inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. in honor of the celebration of his life and Ernest Holmes. So I hope I hope the quotes woven into this prayer also inspire you. So at this time, we get to come together as one heart, So even if you're listening to this recorded service, please join me in being centered in peacefulness and freedom. Please stop whatever you're doing and just sit down and slowly take in a deep breath as you close your eyes, go inward, and connect to your spirit. God is peace and harmony, the divine flow of love that is in and around everything that we see, feel, and touch. God is in those inspiring moments where you're free to engage in the simple pleasures of life. That bowl of popcorn, family, friends, movies, the feel of sunshine on your face, to enjoy the moments of freedom and grace. Feel the presence of God in those tender moments of kind acts of love. Your spouse surprising you with cleaning the kitchen, your dog bringing his ball to you to play, or being in the moment and realizing the day is flowing with ease and effortlessly. I center my being in God and become one. I embrace and declare my freedom, knowing that we shall never know peace until we embody it. We shall never know truth until we become truth. And we cannot know God unless we sense him within our own being. The Spirit is ever giving, but we must take. What life does for us must be done through us. Right here in this moment, I am connected to Spirit within me. The spirit of freedom to dream, to live, to be. The freedom to engage in peace and harmony. The freedom to sense God within me and within everyone. I release anger and thoughts that don't serve me or others. All the power of the universe is with me, with all. Feel it, know it, and then act as though it were true. I am grateful that the universe is unlimited potential and provides for all that we have or all that we shall need. I am thankful in knowing I create freedom, peace, by feeling and believing it to be true, never wavering, no matter what happens. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. With love and gratitude, I gently release these words into the universe, and so it is. Amen.
Yay, Mary. I think we can clap for that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really delighted to be here, and Anne, thank you so much. You know, when you first said that you were going to use quotes from Martin Luther King, he wrote an awful lot, he said an awful lot. I'm thinking, okay, they won't be the one I'm planning on using, right? And I'm right, they weren't. So good, one mind, and I love the way it works. So we're here today. It is Martin Luther King's birthday weekend, and I'm delighted to once again be thinking of his wonderful work, his presence, and the dedication that he had to nonviolence. I think that that's an essential way for us to be and to live, because in a very big way, that is a belief that love will conquer hate. And that's an important piece. Martin Luther King also is very well known for his famous speech, I have a dream. And that's the one that I went to. I picked a particular portion of the dream. He goes through and he has a lot of different visual images that he uses in that speech. And the one that caught my attention the most today, because it seems to go along with what I want to talk about the most today, is when he said, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And I think that that is an essential idea. And yet what I have noticed is that in the last 60, 70 years, since right around 1950, the concept of building character has sort of been lost in the idea that personality and learning certain modalities to and behaviors to manipulate people would be psychologically would be more powerful than operating from character. So it's just it's an idea, an ethic that has been very important to our country, mainly because our country's based on principles and people that imperfectly practiced character traits and tried to improve on those all the way along. And I think one example of that is Benjamin Franklin. When you read his biography, his autobiography, he talks about how he has taken ideals, and tried to more fully live them, to become them more completely. And I think that's an important piece for us to recognize. And again, that's something that very much Anne was referring to in her invocation, the idea that we have to become something for it to be in our world. The science of mind teaches that the concept of character, the concept that we believe that this world, this universe, is founded on principles or laws that are consistently and constantly working, and that they are invisible laws, but they can be studied and applied to our lives. Now, in very big ways, these principles are also the character traits that have often been considered something that we would want to experience in our world. And so I want to explore the idea of character. I want to explore the idea of principles and laws that stand behind that. I want to take a look today at what we must become to have the world we want to live in. And I think that it's of major importance that we realize that it's up to us to embrace and embody these concepts. And that as we do that, we expand in who we are. Now, I'm going to take just a moment because I left my purse on the stage. My purse has my phone in it, And I happen to have been on a group text today that is going a little nuts. So I'm hearing my phone go ding, ding, ding. You've got a text, you've got a text. And I don't know if any of you can hear that, but I'm going to go silence my phone. Let me get that. Oh, I think. Where'd I put my purse?
Your purse is down here.
It's down there? Why don't you grab that? And within it is, we're going to just figure it out. And I just want to get my phone. So it's important I have my phone with me anyway today. So thank you. And we will go back to this. Hang on. Silent. Oh, don't we like that? All right. And so today we're going to take a look at the ideas of character. And one of the references that I've used today is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's an old book by Stephen Covey. And this book, I think, aligns perfectly with religious science. The things that he says echo the things that Ernest Holmes said probably 50 years, 75 years before he was saying them, but they are said over and over and over again so that we can actually hear them. And each time they're said, they get more solid in the raised consciousness and the understanding of what it is we are to be. So Emerson said that nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles. And so that idea, principle-centered living, that there is some way that we can actually bring forward the divine values and principles of life, and that when we do that, we become successful. Now that's part of what was always taught for the 150 years from 1776 until the 50s, right after World War II. And consistently there was an idea that to build character, you would teach your children and you yourself would model becoming the ideals that are considered valuable in our society. So let's take a look more deeply at this thing that's called character. Let's take a look more deeply at what do we do to become it, and how do we consider these ideas, and how do we bring them into practice in a time of social upheaval, in a time of of the appearance of such solidly believed divisive ideas. There's such a huge divide in what we think we believe in the United States right now. And so let's take a look at this. According to Stephen Covey, character traits that were emphasized prior to the 50s, from 1776 by Benjamin Franklin all the way up, that these character traits included values like integrity, humility, fidelity, temperance, courage, justice, patience, industry, simplicity, modesty, and the golden rule. Now that's a great list, isn't it? And if you took any one of those and decided that you were going to bring that into your life in a greater way, how would that change your actions? Because your thoughts would be changed. See, our actions are always based on what we believe. And so when we are willing to take a look at ideas and to consider them more deeply and to dive into them deeply and to even dedicate our lives to particular divine ideals, what begins to happen is that we become that ideal in a greater way, and our actions immediately begin to follow that. Because when you're out of line with what you value, it hurts. That's something I really understand. When you are out of alignment, if you are a conscious person and you say, I believe in any of these particular traits, and you begin to act differently. This is the idea of integrity. You begin to act differently than what you believe. There becomes a schism inside you that's painful. And when that schism takes place, you'll either do one of two things. You will try to align yourself back to that ideal, taking whatever necessary steps you have to come back to it. Or you will try and cover it up with behaviors that often become addictive. And so we have to take a look at what are the things we stand for and how am I going to bring them forward in my world. And these character traits that Covey has mentioned, plus others, are the foundational principles that are natural laws in the universe and are real and changeless. Isn't that an interesting idea? But we talked last week about our teaching symbol, and we said that in the top portion of spirit that there were certain divine ideals. Now, spirit is changeless. Everything else changes. But spirit is changeless, and those ideals which are formless are always seeking expression through its experience of life, through its creation. And so these concepts are changeless, but because they're formless, the form that they take continues to evolve. So when we get into life and we say, gee whiz, I want to be about love, or I want to be about freedom, or I want to be about integrity, or I want to understand and be patience with the process of creation, when we say these things, then we become them more and more. And we become a calm center in what can look like the storm, because we can become the peace that we desire. So principles are changeless, and that's an interesting idea, because we might say, what does that mean, and how can I understand that? And I have a little story for you. This comes out of Covey's book, 7 Habits. It's a story that's been around since the Second World War, and it was actually published originally by Frank Koch in the Naval Institute magazine that's called Proceedings. And I'm going to read it to you. It's a great story, so just sort of kick back. You may have heard this before, or not. So here we go. It says 2 battleships were assigned to the training squadron that had been at sea on maneuvers in heavy weather for several days. I was serving on the lead battleship and was on watch on the bridge as night fell. The visibility was poor and patchy fog, so the captain remained on the bridge, keeping an eye on all the activities. Shortly after dark, the lookout on the wing of the bridge reported light bearing on the starboard bow. Is it steady or moving astern? The captain called out. The lookout replied, steady, Captain, which meant we were on a dangerous collision course with that ship. The captain then called to the signalman, signal that ship. We are on a collision course. Advise your course. You change course 20 degrees. Back came a signal. Advisably for you to change course 20 degrees. Now, you know, when you're a captain, you sort of expect your orders to be followed. When you're a battleship, you figure you're bigger than they are. They better follow your orders, right? These are some of the things that you sort of go for. And the captain said, send, I am a captain. Change course 20 degrees. And the signal came back. I'm a seaman, 2nd class. You had better change course 20 degrees. By that time, the captain was furious. He spit out, send, I am a battleship. Change course 20 degrees. And back came the flashing light. I'm a lighthouse. I'm a lighthouse. Guess what? The captain changed course 20 degrees. Because the lighthouse doesn't move. It's changeless. Its location is firm and permanent. That's like the ideals that we're talking about. That's like the principles we're talking about. They are firm, they are changeless, they are constantly here. They are set in a place that is happening all the time. They're always available, and they're always signaling to us when we are on a collision course with life. And we may need to change course to align with the principles that are correct for us. And this phenomenon of sort of having a story that creates an idea of a paradigm shift, sometimes that's what happens with our ideals. We're moving along and we're thinking one way and we're seeing everything through that lens, and suddenly we realize that we're on a collision course with a value that we have claimed to hold. And perhaps we have claimed to hold a value of peace. And suddenly in our heart, we are answering the events of the world with thoughts of violence. That's going to feel pretty uncomfortable. And we're going to have to go back and we're going to have to look at that principle of peace and say, how am I going to respond to this situation and hold the principle that I desire in mind? How does Martin Luther King and all of the people that worked with him hold the vision of love and peace when faced with an angry mob that would easily kill them and often hurt them? Think about that. Think about how that works. How do you stay aligned with the principles that you say that you embrace when you're hit with situations that draw you to test those principles? And that's what I think we have to take a look at. The principle is changeless. Our job is to figure out how to stay aligned with that principle as we speak the truth to power or to those who would tell us that that's an old-fashioned idea. It's how do we continue to speak that truth? How do we stand for the thing we claim to believe in? Now, a couple of other ideas about how principle works in the world, and I want to make these plain because they help us begin to understand how principles work in the world. And Ernest Holmes said that principle is no respecter of persons. Now, what's that mean? You see, when we take a look and say that there's a personality trait that you can develop in yourself that will teach you how to manipulate people, how to answer them in a particular way, how to persuade them that you're right, and maybe keep them from believing what's the evidence in front of their eyes, what you have to do is recognize that principle is not a respecter of persons. Now, this comes from the Bible, but Ernest Holmes expanded on it. He said the universe is impersonal. It gives alike to all. It is no respecter of persons. It values each alike. Its nature is to impart. Ours is to receive. When we stand in the light, we cast a shadow across the pathway of our own experience. Emerson advises that we get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. I love that, idea that, guess what, it might be me in the way. But that concept that a universal law works the same no matter who's working it. It doesn't say, gee whiz, I think that this person, because they have more power and influence, they have more money, is more important than that person over there. And the interesting thing is that you can see how that works in the judiciary branch of our government, because the law, the reason that they show the statue of the law with the eyes covered is because the law also is blind to personality. It is to be applied to all equally. And so we see that no respecter of persons, and matter of fact, in the Bible, what it says is that God is like the judges, and meaning that they don't say, well, this neighbor I know better, he's my buddy, so I'm going to rule in his favor even though your case looks good. What happens instead is that the judges to judge each from a place of putting aside friendships or personalities or anything like that to look for truth. And so the idea that the universal principle, the creative law, is impersonal is very important, because it means that no matter what you have done in your life, no matter where you might have gone wrong, that the law is working for you today, helping you create from this moment. And so what's important is, what is the principle you choose right now, and how do you begin to explore that? And through that exploration, you automatically begin to use the law in a new way. And as soon as you use the law in a new way, it responds to you in that new way and gives you something that's called holy newness and growth and unfoldment. So that idea that the universe is impersonal is very important for us to recognize, because if you are saying, well, you know, the divine did this for this person, but it won't do it for me, you're telling a lie about how the law works. And that belief system will ultimately create for you in the same way that it would create if you were saying that the law works for you. And Ernest Holmes says that one of the things that we need to do and be aware of is to recognize when we say, well, this works for somebody else, but it doesn't work for me. Because if I believe that it doesn't work for me, then guess what? Because the law works based on what I believe, it won't work for me. And the only thing that needs to shift is my belief. It's not the law. The law is the lighthouse. It's not moving. The battleship that you are might need to. And so, so that you don't crash on that, shore. So, principle is impersonal. The next idea that Holmes puts forward is that principle is not bound by precedent. Now, that's an important thing. It's not bound by the history. Principle is consistently developing and pulling forward and expanding in this world. And because it is infinite, no matter how long you have practiced that principle, there is more to learn. I think that's an important piece to get, is that this idea that there is something greater going on and that is continuous. You see, that's why so many religious scientists are universal students of life forever. They don't say, well, gee whiz, I learned it all. I know everything. Nothing's more humbling talk about humility, nothing's more humbling in the universe than recognizing how much you don't know, which is amazing. I got a long life ahead of me because I got a lot to learn. So principle is not bound by precedent, and Ernest Holmes again said, because we fail to realize that principle is not bound by precedent, we limit our faith to that which has already been accomplished. The few miracles result, because we don't think there can be anything more. It's always been this way for me. Why would it change now? And Holmes goes on, he says, when, through intuition, faith finds its proper place under divine law, there are no limitations. And what are called miraculous results follow. So here's an important piece. No matter what you might have experienced up till now, it's not the limit of who you are. And that you have the ability to bring forward something more, to influence the pattern of race consciousness and the pattern of events in this world through your willingness. I'm going back for a moment to Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement of the 60s. King went to study with Mahatma Gandhi. He met him, he studied him, he studied his works before he went. He wanted to know more about this idea of nonviolence that Gandhi was using in India, because they were having good results. But the secret here is Gandhi had gone much earlier and tried to bring forward the idea of nonviolence, but hadn't spent enough time yet. He didn't realize that you could talk to people about nonviolence, but if you didn't help them actually learn what it was and the consciousness that it would take to hold it, that when the British troops would come in and batter them, that they were going to respond to that, and then it would go downhill, and they would not get the results they wanted. And so the first time that Gandhi had tried to get this, the British government out of India, it didn't work. And he had gone back into an enclave that they gave him, and they let him be there. And what he began to do was teach people over several years about how to respond in violent situations nonviolently, how to hold that center, because they had to learn that. And that's what King began to do along with all the others, because it certainly was not him alone. But they begin to learn it themselves and then teach it to other people, so that when people would do peaceful protest and they would be met with violence from the police, that they were able, and also the Ku Klux Klan and others that were active at that time, that when they were hit with that violence, that they could respond from nonviolence. That was important. You heard Anne say that violence will not, hatred will not be cured by hatred. It can only be overcome by love. And that love has to be committed to peaceful process. Thich Nhat Hanh, who is also somebody that had to learn about nonviolent response, he's a Buddhist monk, and he began to work within Vietnam to look for nonviolent response by the people to move and to establish their own country. He became a world-famous writer, and one of the things that he said is that you have to become peace. I'm paraphrasing this poorly, but Bob and Maureen Welch sent me a picture of a wall hanging that they have in their home. So this shows how some of the ways that you dedicate yourself to ideals. This wall hanging has a Thich Nhat Hanh statement. It basically says that if you want peace in the world, you have to develop peace within yourself, and then within your household, and then it will come into the world. And so if you don't dedicate yourself to ways of peace and ways of love, then when push comes to shove, you'll be pushing and shoving, and instead of being centered in who you really are. So that said, I think it's important that we start to understand the ways that we become what it is that we value. And so first off, you ask yourself, what does this value mean? What does it mean to value peace? And if I value peace, then what can I do to become it? And I can put reminders around me, symbols that tell me that peace is possible. And I can begin to do my prayer work and affirmations around peace. These tools begin to transform my thinking. And as I begin to see and consistently move back to peace over and over and over again, I become it. The same would be true about love, freedom, about humility, about patience, justice, courage, all of those things. The more that I explore them, and the more that I embrace what I am hearing about them, the more I become that character, the trait, and the more that I bring it into the world automatically in my actions. That's the miraculous results that Ernest Holmes is talking about. That's the miraculous results that say that this world can be changed when we change. It doesn't change if you don't, if I don't. It only changes when we begin to put into the race consciousness new and different ideas or expansions on ideas that are already here. This is why it's so important for us to take a look at what do we truly value. Now, I want to bring up an affirmation that some of us have been using in this last 2 weeks, week and a half, since the insurrection in Washington, D.C. And this comes from a unity affirmation, and unity is another new thought religion. It's aligned closely with religious science. And I received this from Linda Clark, and she did one little simple switch to it, because normally this affirmation would be said in the first person. But she took the me out of it and made it us, so that it would be about us. And so this affirmation is, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever I am, in capital letters, I am the divine. Wherever I am, God is. So all is well. Now that I am is the sacred name of God from our Bible. When Moses goes to the burning bush, he says, "Who is this?" And the divine answers, "I am that I am. I am becoming that which I am becoming. I am." That has been translated to Yahweh, but it is as a sacred symbol in Hebrew. But for us, the term I am, every time you use it, you are calling forward that divinity that is within yourself. And whatever you follow it with is the very thing that you are affirming about yourself, whether it's positive or negative. You're affirming that about yourself, and that is going into the law and becoming what you are. And so the way to switch that is to begin to use affirmations like this. I want to say a word about using that term, us. Us. I've been working with that quite a bit since Linda sent this. Who are us? Who are us? What does that term mean? I'm hint by the fact that it's 2 letters, U-S. I am hint by the fact that that is the United States. I am hint by the fact that that is an inclusive statement. Who are us? Who's the United States? It is not one group against another. It's not one is better or right and the other is wrong. It is us. And so when we do this prayer, we need to do this prayer for us, the United States. When we do this prayer, we want to remember the motto of the United States that is on the Great Seal, which says, E pluribus unum, from the many, one. From the many, one. One nation. And so even though it looks in this moment like it is divided, it is up to us to be doing our prayer, to know that there are miraculous results in the mind of God that are possible, and we are willing to be the agents that facilitate that happening. Now, how does that work? Does that mean I have to go out on a line and protest, or that I have to, do any particular thing? The way that it works is for each person to first begin to heal the division and the hurt that is within us, to clean the wounds. And when we talk about cleaning wounds, it talks about cleaning the dirt out of the wounds. And when I look at that, the first step, when I've fallen down and scraped myself, which I've done more than once in my life, the first step is that cleaning away the dirt. I would challenge you to recognize that that's not about somebody else. That's about cleaning the dirt out of your own mind. Cleaning the places where you have believed that there is someone who is less than, cleaning the places where you are saying, that's not me. Cleaning the places where you need to forgive yourself and others. And forgiveness is the best way I know to clean up. And as we do that work, and we embrace the qualities that we are here to be, we allow the natural outcome of the law to work. Now, that is both in the realm of our world, but it's also in the realm of our civic world and our civic law. And so we allow the laws to work to create the proper natural consequences of actions by people that have taken the idea of freedom of speech and turned it into an idea of freedom to create violence. That is not freedom of speech. And so that space, I learned a long time ago from a teacher in my 8th grade class. Thank you, Mrs. Steiner. She was in the Pomona School District, and she said she would stand up in front of the class and she'd start swinging her arms around like this. And she'd say, I have every right to swing my arms around any way I want. And I can walk down the street like this and swing my arms any way I want. Except for the fact that that right stops at the nose of another person. and therefore, I don't have the right to hit another person just because. I don't have the right to create violence. I don't have that right. We have laws that say that we do not have that right. So we allow that peaceful work to happen. We have no argument with the natural consequences of actions. But we also know forgiveness, love, and oneness. It is the balance of love and law that religious science is based on. Practice forgiveness. Find the ways to bring forward the divine ideals that you choose. Study them. Look deeply at them. What does it mean to be a person of love at a time like this, in a situation like this? What's it mean to be a person of peace at a time like this? What's it mean to be a person of truth at a time like this? Notice what you dedicate your lives to, and then find the ways to express it. It's all a process of growth. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I believe we have a piece of music from Mary.
I do believe Dream, don't ever let it die. Just feel it in your soul and give it wings to fly. Let it shine on forever. Let us always remember we are one and we're destined to be free. Yes, we are one. We are truly family. Do you believe? Yes, I believe. Do you believe? I do believe. Oh, can you believe? I do believe. We can live in peace and harmony. Just hold on to the dream.
A little history on that song. Mary Ekler wrote that for the Martin King event, Hands Across Azusa, a number of years ago. She was the music director for the event. I got to give the benediction at that event. We did it a number of years in a row. The idea was to bring together all the different people in Azusa, the number of different people and groups that were represented, and to peacefully reach across what looked like dividing lines and to live that dream that Martin Luther King talked about. And so that it's beautiful that we would have that song today, and I thank Mary for pre-recording it so that we could. I also, as we move into our prayer, would like to share with you something that many of us are also doing, and that is that we are taking our candles that we lit at the peace, at our candlelight service in December, because they are imbibed with the vibration of that peace of that moment. Some of us use them again during the World Peace Meditation on December 31st. And many of us are lighting this candle on at any time that we start to be concerned about the events that might be unfolding in our country. And so this is a way of reminding ourselves that peace, that love, that light are who we are. And if you did not get a candle at that time and would like one and are able to drive to the church, you can text me and I'm more than happy to get you one of these candles. We have more, so I'm very happy to give them to you. With that said, let's use the light of this candle to remind ourselves to move within now for prayer. And so this is our healing prayer. In this moment, simply know that God is present. That in this very moment, God is here. That this love, this light, this peace that passes understanding is the presence of God. It is within us and within all. For there is only one life, the life of God, living itself in a multitude of expressions, creating this magnificent universe and cosmos that we live in. I know God present right here and right now is divine love. That love is that quality that knows that there is no other. That is what knows that there is only God, expressing in a multitude of ways, and yet still one. Still one. And so I know God as the deep compassion that allows me to know and to see the divine presence everywhere. In this moment, I see gently and easily that God is present as that perfect love that is the passion of the universe, the desire, the spark, the inspiration that desires to be expressed, that first part of creation. For there has to be that spark of idea and enthusiasm for it, for that to come forward into life, into the world. And so I know gently and easily that that passion is also part of the great love of God. I'm here knowing gently and easily that life is eternal this day. That life is the life of God, that it is present in each and every person. It is what we call the soul of each one. And that it is eternal. That this thing called birth and this thing called death are not the extent of who we are. That we are eternal beings stretching out way before we experienced life as birth on this planet and way after we experience leaving the body that has been created for us and by us to express through. That we are greater than that. It is our soul that is eternal. I know in this very moment that there is a wholeness of vitality to this life that is present in every single cell of the universe, every single subatomic part. Everything vibrates with the very life of God. And that vibration is within every cell in our bodies and within all of creation, whether it looks like dead matter, or like the lectern, or whether it is an animal or a plant or a person. It is the same vibrancy of life that is present in everything, because that's all we are made from. There's nothing else but God that we are made from and with, and that we are. I know gently and easily that God moving as love, as peace, as a peace that passes understanding, not as some sedentary state or some boring way of being, but a peace that is active and alive, that moves and vibrates within each person, that peace that passes understanding, that is not based on worldly events, but is based on the divine presence in worldly events. That peace is present now everywhere. I know in this very moment that the divine operating in perfect right action through the law is bringing forward natural results to every person, place, and thing. For that's the way the law works. And I know that the divine choosing consistently brings forward holy newness. And I know that as each individual being made in the image and likeness of God uses this same law, bringing forward their beliefs and ideas, whether they are aligned with divine principles or not, that law continues to work in an impersonal, powerful way, so that we receive the results, the natural results of our thought, which is biofeedback, so that we can consider what it is that we desire to be and to do. For in each moment there is holy newness, there is the ability to choose beyond precedent. It doesn't matter what has been. It matters, what do I choose today? And so today we are choosing the values that we want to live by. We allow ourselves that conscious choice of all of the divine values of God, everything, whether it is freedom or integrity or humility, whether it is temperance or courage, whether it's fidelity or justice or patience or abundance or industry, that divine activity that's known as industry, that idea that there is activity. We choose, we choose, we choose. And today we choose what is the value that we desire to experience and express in this moment. Through that choosing, we are creating new. And so I know that these operations of our conscious mind fall into a willing and receptive law of creativity that brings forward something great and something wonderful in our individual lives right now. That we are open for miraculous results. We are open for the understanding that no matter what has been, everything is possible in this moment. And that we are accepting that possibility in a greater and bigger and more beautiful way. So I know that for those of us who have been affected by the concerns of the last week in our nation, that there are places of peace, of comfort, of responsiveness that bubble up within inside us through the intuition about what is ours, and we realize that we are safe because the light of God surrounds us and the power of God protects us. And so we know that we are safe. We are protected. We are divinely guided into right action. I know for those of us who have experienced loss of a loved one through this pandemic or from any other thing that has managed to allow someone to be free from a body that no longer serves them, that if there is any loss like that, that we know and are steady in the recognition that life is eternal and that the soul of the person we love is eternal, that love is eternal, and that our connection with that individual can never be broken. I know that there is right action taking place right now through these wonderful people that are dedicated to the healing of our planet through modern medicine, and that they are in the hospitals and in the doctor's offices and in the various forms of healing that are going on right now, whether they are energy workers or whether they are energy workers that are using modern medicine. It's all the same stuff. It's all God working, and I know that they are uplifted in this time, that they are supported, that they are guided in their actions, and that they are comforted in the knowledge that they have done the right things, that they have done the job. I give thanks for them, and I know and give thanks for all of the people that support them, for any hospital or office does not operate just on the medical personnel. You have to have all of the technicians and all of the people that do the maintenance and all of the people that make sure everything is running right, all of the administration. And so I know that each of those people also are part of this divine healing energy, and that they too are guided and protected and provided for. I speak a word now for any person that has been affected by this economy, that has been affected by this pandemic and by the conditions of this time. And I know that there is a divine right action that is taking place, and there is a divine activity that is known as employment that is happening right in this very moment, that the opportunities are open and that the receptivity to those opportunities is there, and that right action brings that perfect employment, that perfect place for the expression of the individual through their workplace, that brings that light and that love. I know gently and easily that there's something good going on. That good is about sharing what we have, about being willing to allow the abundance to move and to be received. I know that there is a law of circulation, a perfect law of circulation that is happening right now, and I am giving thanks for it, because that is how we sustain this world. Bringing forward and giving and receiving and giving and receiving. That perfect law that is constantly expanding us. And so I give thanks for all the ways that that works, for all the open heart that gives in time, talent, and tithe to the good of this world. I'm speaking a word of gratitude for every person that has cleaned up any mess, no matter where that is, whether it is in our capital or whether it is in our home. I give thanks for that willingness to be part of the process. Today, in this moment, I speak a blessing on this planet because I know that this beautiful blue pearl that spins in space is our home. This is Gaia, divine being. This is Mother Earth. We care for it because it is our home. And so I know that it renews itself and that we are part of that process. I speak a word of blessing on humankind, for we are so made, so magnificently made, that within our mind, within our brain, is a circuit that desires connection with the divine, that is lit up when we pray and when we meditate, that is lit up with that quality of oneness, that light that calls us forward. And that has inspired every world religion. And so I know that that live wire of truth that runs through all religion is united in this moment through this prayer with the prayer of every religion. And we send forward today a prayer of divine protection, of power of love, of the presence of God within every single mosque and temple, every church and sanctuary, every synagogue and cathedral, every gurdwala, every house of worship, every circle of friends that gather to celebrate the divine in nature. That there is a calling forth of the holy, joined with the good that is life itself. I speak a word of blessing on this, our sanctuary for spiritual living, for it is here that we know and come and gather to reinforce the principles and divine ideals that we choose to stand for. I give thanks for the beauty and the grace of this time, this place. I know that there is great work for us to do. And so we simply ask to be prepared now.
God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
And so it is with a deep sense of gratitude for the love of God that lives within us. Thanksgiving for the life of God that lives itself through us. And a deep sense of gratitude for the creative power that takes this word and makes it form. And so with gratitude, I simply release this gently into the law with love, knowing that in peace it is done. And so it is. Amen. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to do some quick gratitude and then we will do our offering, and then we're going to have the peace song that will complete our service. So that's going to happen automatically. That's a little change in what we've been doing, but I want to give us that opportunity. And so today I just want to say thank you to Mary Ekler for all that she has done. The beauty that she has given us in her music today. I want to say thank you to Eisele for giving us such a beautiful prayer in support of what we're about. And also I owe my heart to Tom and Dylan and Peggy, who make our service possible. And I am extremely grateful for what they do and their willingness to show up no matter what. I also am speaking a word of gratitude for Terry and for Jim, who make a lot of things possible around here. So I want to simply guide you now in our offering. It is, we have our affirmation. I want to remind you that you can go to our website and give online, or you can send a check to the address that shows up on your screen now. Or you can drive it by the church. I know a lot of you like to do that. So all of those things work, and I say thank you. And I say thank you not only for you sharing your abundance with the church that helps support us being here. It pays for the lights. It pays for the electric. It pays for all of the stuff that makes this church run. And it also pays the salaries for the people that you see and people that you don't see. It also pays for the gardeners and for all the different forms of maintenance, our security people. And so I thank you for your willingness to give. I also want to thank you for your willingness to give again over and above, to share resources with other people that are part of our church that have been affected by the economy of this time. And so thank you for being willing to send to sharing our resources. I can tell you that those funds have been used this month for five people in our congregation for essential things. And I can tell you that each one has been so moved by receiving a gift from you. And so let's just take a moment to speak our affirmation. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It is evidence of my faith and belief. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Amen. All right, let's go for the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our power, loved ones all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take